Boom! What's up, everybody? Good morning. Philly with John Marks on PHLY. It's a Friday morning. Almost hit the month of June, but it's officially summertime. Good morning, everybody watching live on YouTube as they do every morning, 8 to 9 a.m. It's a good way to start your day. You're getting ready for work. Maybe you're already sitting at your desk, in the office, in your home office. It's a Friday in May. If you have the option of working from home, aren't you probably working from home today? Yes, I am working from home today, the end of a week. We'll be back in studio next week. Tyler Zuli's back today joining me. Phil split the doubleheader last night. By the way, Philly with John Marks, as always, brought to you by BetParx. Before I get to that, I'm wearing the lone 76er sweatshirt that I have because it was a good night last night for my club. The 76ers fans for the New York Knicks. That's right. As a Sixer fan, I'm rooting for the New York Knicks to win because I like the Knicks team, and I wish that was my team. And they're probably not going to make the NBA Finals, but they did extend the series last night. They beat the Pacers, rather easy game, as they force a Game 6. So, yes, I am showing my support of the Sixers of the Knicks through the Sixers, and I'm wearing my 76er hoodie today. I don't have as many 76er hoodies and shirts as I do Phillies and Eagles. I have a lot of Phillies t-shirts, not a lot of Phillies hoodies, because that's the summertime, right? In October, when the Phillies are in the playoffs, I run into this problem. It's like, all right, I have like 2 Phillies hoodies, and I have 10 t-shirts. And same thing with Eagles. I have like 50 sweatshirts and 50 t-shirts. So the Eagles, this is all I have with the 76ers. And it shows you what kind of fan I am, which is not much at all. But congratulations to the 76ers fans for the New York Knicks. They win last night. All right, Phil's, listen, that was an easy one last night. Once Zach Wheeler gave up a couple runs there, was that in the 3rd inning. And the Phillies just pretty much said, we won the series already. We're out. Right? They brought in Carlos Hernandez to try to clean up that inning for Wheeler. You knew that wasn't going to work out. It didn't. And then Joe Ross came in his hive and gave up a couple runs. Like, whatever. They took 2 or 3 from the Braves. Good series win. Milwaukee starting tonight. Is everybody over the retaliation sensation obligation? Because I saw something else that Rob Thompson addressed it yesterday, and he talked about how there was nobody in the clubhouse that thought that Strider hit Bryce Harper intentionally. Bryce Harper did not play. All indications are he's going to play against the Brewers this weekend. Like, whenever he's ready to come back, I didn't want to see him play yesterday. Give him a day or 2 or 3, get the elbow right, and then let's go. But if the Phillies would have threw at somebody yesterday, then the Phillies would have threw at somebody yesterday. If they didn't, which they didn't, the retaliation sensation obligation, from a fan's perspective, I understand they want blood because Bryce Harper got hit. The reality is that this happens in baseball. Bryce Harper gets hit a lot. Pitchers want to pitch him inside. And unfortunately, he got hit hard. But fortunately, and keep this in mind, really, this is the bigger picture, he's fine. He didn't break his elbow. He didn't break his thumb or his hand. It didn't ricochet off his face. But Phillies take 2 or 3 over the Braves. It's great. So the night that the game was rained out, I was on social media, and I was just some real like hardcore Phillies talk, like rolled up my sleeves, dug in. Let's talk Phillies. There's no game tonight. I need a Phillies fix, and I got a Phillies fix. Some good conversation, but trades is, I mean, Jesus, we're not even in June yet, so we have a long time to go to the trade deadline, and potentially, sure, you could make a trade before that. But typically it happens to the lead up to the trade deadline, not a lot before that. But wait, so you look and you're like, all right, you obviously need a back-end bullpen guy. I would like a legitimate closer. If that's available out there, of course I want the Phillies to get that. I heard Dave Dombrowski speak yesterday to John Heyman and Joel Sherman. They do a podcast on the New York Post, and he was talking about maybe not a closer, but definitely a back-end bullpen guy. So when Dave Dombrowski speaks, he generally doesn't BS, and he's very upfront. And it's one of the things I love about Dave. I could listen to Dave talk about baseball all day long. He's really, really good. And he specifically said, and I guess I could have grabbed this, but I'll just tell you. when asked about getting a closer, he stopped and said, "Oh, not necessarily a closer." I'm sure if there's a closer available, they'll get him. But obviously, they're going to target a back-end bullpen guy. But it didn't seem like, based on what he was saying, and again, Nebraska doesn't BS a lot, that they're necessarily saying, yeah, we absolutely positively need to sell out and to get a bona fide all-star type closer. If he's there and they can get it done, obviously they'll do it. But closer, they need that. Does this team really need anything else? I know everybody wants to upgrade center field, and we're trading for this center fielder, and they're trading for that center fielder and everything else. I just don't think there's a lot of room in the outfield. Johan Rojas has been fine to me. A platoon of Marsh and Rojas, at least right now. You still have 2 months to go before the trade deadline, essentially. Like, I'm play it out. I'm fine. But right now, I just don't know. I just don't know where you're trading for somebody unless you're trading somebody away and he's playing. Kepler's your left fielder. Kepler's making a lot of money. He's left-handed hitting. If you were to trade for Rhys Hoskins and make him your first baseman, he sucks defensively. That means Bryce Harper has to move to left field. That means Castellanos has to move to left field. It just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Could they trade for another outfielder? Sure. But as of right now, I just don't see it as a major need that you're trading for a starting outfielder. Everything's got to be thrown at the bullpen. So the question is, do you trade probably your most valuable trade piece outside of somebody young in the minors? And I'll tell you right now, Ranger Suarez would have a ton of value if put on the trade market. So think about it. Think of it from a Phillies perspective. The Phillies desperately need starting pitching. They don't, but let's pretend they do. They desperately need starting pitching. They have a good number one. They have a good number two. Then outside of that, man, they really have like a 4, a 5, and then they don't even have a fifth starter, right? And all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, look who's available on the market. Ranger Suarez. Ranger Suarez has playoff experience as a starter, and he's got stones. He just doesn't have experience. He's one of these players in a big spot out of the bullpen as a starter in a big game. He's going to give you high leverage innings. We've seen it. He's not going to give you 7 or 8 innings, 9 innings in a playoff game. I realize that. And not only playoffs, but getting to the playoffs. Ranger Suarez is an above-average starting pitcher who is very, very good if he's completely healthy. And he looks completely healthy right now. With the Phillies' abundance of starting pitching, does it make sense to trade Ranger Suarez? Because Andrew Painter is supposed to be coming up in July. Right? They don't want to use him out of the bullpen. I don't think they're going to slow play him that much down in AAA. They could maybe do it a little bit. Luzardo, Wheeler. I mean, when Nola comes back, he's going to have to be in the rotation, right? Chris Sanchez. And if you bring a Painter, you have Taijuan Walker. As much as I'm saying no to trading Ranger Suarez, that's a really valuable piece. And I think it's much more valuable than, hey, let's get a Estevez with it. Like, let's go out. No, like, that should be something where you could get some really, really good prospects or a young player that maybe they have a logjam in their organization to where he fits in the Phillies organization. I don't know. We're going to bring in Tyler Zuley for this. And this portion of the program brought to you by GLAT HAIR Restoration, GLATHairMM.com. Text them or call them, 610-980-4000, 610-980-4000. I mean, like, my first reaction, Tyler, to the idea of trading Ranger Suarez is, hey, put him in the bullpen. We keep talking about you need a high leverage arm in the back of the bullpen. Why can't that be Ranger Suarez? I know he's not throwing 100 miles an hour, but we've seen him in the playoffs be an effective reliever.
Yeah, I have talked about this for probably 6 weeks now, and something that, like, and I was before the season too, where it was, we all know what the situation at hand is. The situation is Ranger Suarez is an impending unrestricted free agent. I think we also, most of us believe that a team, mystery team 1 is going to offer Ranger Suarez more than what the Phillies are comfortable giving him. And because of their other monetary, construction and things like that, I think Ranger Suarez is going to be pitching elsewhere in 2026. And the dilemma is, do you get something for him now, or do you utilize him in a playoff push? And my whole thought has always been, I think utilizing him in a playoff push is more valuable to you this season. And this season is probably your, as every year goes on, the window becomes a different look. This seems to be another pliable, like postseason window type of year. I think he helps you more this year than moving him and setting up the future. Because if you're moving him, unless you're acquiring a major league ready player, which that would be the only way that I think they would move him, is to acquire a back end of the bullpen guy or to acquire an everyday center fielder. They're not going to move him for prospects. They as much as they have a farm system that finally feels like it's a decent farm system, they're not looking to do that right now. They're looking to win a championship. And I think he's more valuable to you for the next 5 months. And you take your chances on the open market in December and January than he would be to move him, again, unless you can find yourself an everyday center fielder or a legit bona fide back of the bullpen, high leverage type of guy.
How about Mason Miller? Athletics. See, here's why that doesn't make sense. And this is part of the problem with trading Ranger Suarez. The A's stink, and they're not looking for an impending free agent or a pending free agent. So that doesn't make sense. But prospects. So here's what I'm saying. You could trade Ranger for prospects to replenish the prospects you're giving up for a guy like Mason Miller. Let me give you an example of Carlos Beltran got traded from the Mets to the Giants in 2011. He was going to be a free agent, so it was a rental unless they re-signed him. The Giants didn't re-sign him. The Giants didn't make the playoffs. They gave up Zach Wheeler for him. And while Zach Wheeler didn't pan out in New York the way that they had hoped, and it took a little bit longer, he had a lot of injuries and things like that, still, that was a really, really good trade by the Mets because they were able to get a top prospect. And look what Zach Wheeler, last night aside, has done. Can you do the same thing with Ranger Suarez?
I'll give you another one. The Cubs were sellers at the deadline, I believe, in 2018 or 2019, and they moved Javi Baez. Who did they get in exchange? Pete Crow Armstrong. Sometimes you end up with a player that it works wonders for you. Now PCA took him a couple years. He was like 18 or 19, whatever he was when they traded for him, and they were they were a team that was in a rebuild type of mode, so it allowed them to develop. The Mets were able to get a guy like Zach Wheeler who, while wasn't the Zach Wheeler we know today, had the stuff. The stuff was there. It was just about consistency and throwing more strikes and staying healthy. In a situation that would be like this stepping stone move, then sure, I think you could conceivably almost have like a pseudo 3-team trade where if you were to move them for some prospects and then move those prospects for a closer, that might work. But your point about like the A's, right? There's a lot of teams that are like that where a team is only going to take on an impending free agent if they think they can help them get to a title run or a postseason run this year. So how many teams have the reliever you want, the high-end reliever or the everyday outfielder, have that player, have a player that they're willing to move and are looking to take on Ranger Suarez specifically because of the fact that he is an impending free agent at the end of the season. So it's this Venn diagram that has a very, very fine overlap.
Yeah, if you're going to trade player for player, you would need to find a team that is in contention, that is trying to make the playoffs and needs a starting pitcher. And they say, you know what, we can give up this high leverage arm because here's the other thing. Who's giving up their closer? And I get it. A starting pitcher is more valuable than a closer. But if you're digging yourself a hole by trading your closer, then what are you doing? Unless you have other guys that can step up. But I guess my point is that it's not an easy situation.
Right.
And I think by far the most likely thing that happens is Ranger Suarez stays with the team. He remains a starter. Perhaps he's the fourth starter in the playoffs, or he pitches out of the bullpen. And he adds to the bullpen, and he becomes kind of that high leverage guy.
There's one team, and INS actually just put them in the chat. There's one team that comes to mind when you have this conversation, and it's the Boston Red Sox. Because of the fact that their starting rotation has not lived up to what they wanted it to be this year, do you have the conversation of Ranger for Chapman? That would be the conversation you would have. I don't know who hangs up the phone. It would be an intriguing one, but again, there's so few teams that fit that bill that you just laid out. It's really hard to get that kind of move done with a team that wants a starter that's in playoff contention, that is willing to give up a high leverage reliever because they have a plethora of them, and that you have a reliever that you want in exchange. So it's hard to match all of these things up with a guy right now that is 6 months away from being a free agent for the first time. And by the way, is a Scott Boras client.
Yeah, Red Sox are 4 games under 500, and they have really underperformed this year. So that may not be a match. I love listen. You want to get Aroldis Chapman? Let's trade somebody for him. Let's trade some prospects for him. Right? I'm not trading Abel for a guy that Chapman. That's just a 1-year deal. That wasn't a multi-year deal, right? So you're not getting him.
I would imagine. I don't know off the top of my head. I would imagine probably so. He's throwing smoke still, though. John, have you seen him lately?
He's good. No, he's
38 years old. He's throwing 100 miles an hour.
He's been very good this year. Yeah, you two could have had him for 1 year's $10.75 million. He also doesn't he also have a lengthy kind of off the field history and things like that? Chapman.
He does. There was, I don't know how long removed at this point, but yes, there was an off the field track record.
All right. Well, there you go. So listen, we'll see. I think that the most likely scenario is they trade prospects for a bullpen player. Also, Andrew Painter. We're going to talk about this with Pat Egan, who's going to join us coming up here in a few minutes. He pitched, I think it was in the doubleheader yesterday, went 5 innings. I have to pull up the app on my phone. But he's looked good. His ERA's in the mid-2s at AAA. He's looked good. The velocity's there. And the same thing with Dave Dombrowski yesterday with this with the podcast interview that I saw. He doesn't seem to be all that worried about rushing Andrew Painter up to the big leagues. And just because they said July, and I think Rob Thompson reiterated that yesterday or the day before and said, yeah, he could be up here in July. He could also not be up here in July. Where's he pitching? I mean, seriously,
July-ish is what they keep saying.
Right. Yeah, sometimes it takes care of itself, Tyler. Like there's an injury and it's like, okay, well, like he slots right in. But the fact that you now have extra and abundant starting pitching, it makes it a little bit more difficult for that to happen. I mean, all right, so let's say that they're like, okay, Andrew Painter's coming up. Like Pat Egan he put out a tweet. He's mad that the Phillies are handling him with kid gloves and they have him on a pitch count and he's not up at the majors yet. My question is, where are you putting him? Is he a multiple inning reliever, which they've said they don't want to do, and they may change their mind, by the way, on that. Are you putting him into the rotation? You're not going to have a 6-man rotation. Zach Wheeler doesn't like that. Unfortunately, it's a good problem to have. Well, this is, I guess, a good problem then, because this is a problem that they have right now.
I do think it ends up being a 6-man rotation, but I think it's a modified 6-man rotation where it's Wheeler, 4 guys, Wheeler, the 6th guy. You know what I mean? So it's Wheeler
regular rest, and then the other guys.
Everybody else is on extended. I think that would be the way that they would, especially with Painter, because I don't think they're going to let him come out and start firing 110 pitches over 7 innings right away. So I wouldn't be shocked if they end up doing a 6-man rotation, like a modified 6-man rotation where Wheeler stays on normal rest and everybody else gets kind of back-ended one day.
Yeah. You put it up there again. Mike's comment about Ranger for a right-handed bat. So here's my question. What position?
Center field.
I mean, okay. I mean, don't they have a right-handed hitting center fielder?
I don't believe the postseason center fielders on this roster.
So you think they're trading for a center fielder?
Well, let me rephrase that. I think they could trade for a center fielder. I also think there is still plausible case to say that Justin Crawford makes his debut at some point. And if he shines at all, they could give him some extended run. But I think the more likely scenario is that they do trade for an everyday outfielder, yes.
Really?
Yes.
And Rojas is a part of that trade?
I would assume you would probably have to. Okay. It depends on because then I think you just have a logjam of outfielders.
Yeah, you do.
One of them you have to move. I would have to think probably. I have not thought through the schematics of it, but I do truly believe when they get ready to play in the postseason, which they should. I mean, as you've said many times, their pitching is going to be good enough just to carry them no matter what. I think the everyday center fielder is not on this roster right now.
Okay. All right, Pat Egan joins us coming up. He is mad as hell that the Phillies are handling Andrew Painter with kid gloves. We'll discuss that with him and some other fun Phillies topics. This is Philly with John Marks, PHLY. Why? And by the way, I'm battling in like the spring, you don't realize this because I've never had allergy problems, but like I don't know if it's a cold or it's allergies because everybody in my house kind of sounds like me and has a runny nose and stuff. Anyway, GLAT hair restoration. I'm getting my hair cut today. I'm deciding whether or not am I going really short? Am I going just like a trim? Am I shaving the beard down? Because I feel like sometimes I'm like, oh, you know what? I look really old, which I kind of am. But you know what? Like that's the conversations I have. That's because of GLAT hair restoration. The conversations are good conversations about what I should do with my hair because I like the way my hair looks. And if you're losing your hair, thinning, balding, maybe you know you need hair restoration. And you've heard me talk about it. You're like, yup, I've done some research. I need hair restoration. Maybe you just are on social media and now you're a part of the algorithm where everything you get is hairspray. Like, oh, look, let me spray this on there and look at my hair. Look how much it's grown. No. If you looked at those options as well, GLAT hair restoration, they've been doing hair forever. Their hair team, over 30 years of industry experience. And over time, technology grows, science grows. In the year 2025, as I sit here at the end of May, there are so many options to stop hair loss. And we're not talking about just hair restoration. We're talking about innovation, all right? If you're thinning and balding, they have something for you. That's why you contact them. GLATHairMM.com is their website, my before and after pictures, many other as well. Or you can call or text them at 610-980-4000. 610-980-4000, GLATHairMM.com. Hoo-ah! All right. Man, Tyler had a bad pick yesterday for his parlay. That's been me for the last couple weeks. All right. Sorry that I have Tyler. I have BetParx on my thing. We'll talk in a second.
Nope, that's my fault. Hit the wrong button.
All right. Well, listen, and you picked the wrong pick yesterday, which I've done for weeks now in the BetParx parlay of the day. Because I went with New York and playoff basketball last night. You know, easy pick, right? Went on the money line. They got to win. 76ers fans for the New York Knicks. Thank you very much. But there's always another thing you can do on the BetParx app. So we have Philadelphia baseball against Milwaukee, individual player performances, home runs, strikeouts. Everything is right there for you. Pro Hockey Playoffs is amazing. The BetParx online sportsbook and casino app has you covered. Whether your favorite team wins or not, there's always another way to win on the BetParx sportsbook and online casino app. It's the only app I would ever recommend to bet on sports and to play all your favorite casino games. Live dealer. This isn't some fugazi thing. Live dealer blackjack, roulette, craps, poker, and hot online slots as well. New users get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Go to betparx.com, download the app, and get all the action of the casino at your fingertips. You must be 21 and in PA, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan for BetParx. You love to play. You play to win. You bet. BetParx. Gambling problem. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Hoo-ah! All right, we are back. Philly with John Marks on a Friday. My poor kids, last Friday, they ended up raining out. They had, it's field day. Now they call it Olympic day. They rained it out last Friday, and the weather ended up being pretty nice, and the fields weren't all that wet, and they rescheduled it for today. But unfortunately, the fields are still wet, and it's not supposed to rain today. So they have like a modified field day, which sucks because it wasn't one of the best days of the year, even in high school. Wasn't it field day where all day long you're just doing everything else and not doing work?
Yeah, and when you get it modified, like you end up in the gym, right? Your school, and it's like it's just not nearly as fun.
They have different classrooms will have different activities. They're going to have some stuff on the blacktop, and then they'll have some things in the gym. Because I volunteer for it, so later this afternoon I was supposed to be going there, and they give you a station of one of the games, whatever it is, and then me and a couple of other parents are in charge of it, sack races and things like that. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
for sure.
So now they don't need the volunteers because they're inside. So.
Well, I think it's a good time for you too, right? Because it's like it's a bonding moment with your kids. It's a great, you guys are going to have that moment, and it kind of sucks that now you're not really needed because it's inside, and then it sucks for them because I think there's something to be said about being at school and your school just being like, go have fun, go outside and have fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
After 100 and some odd days of being cooped up in the classroom.
Well, I just brought it up, and immediately you popped up, and you're like, "Yeah, field day was also always the best.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I loved it." All right, well, is Pat Egan? Is he there? Pat Egan, PHLY. He writes for the Phillies and about prospects. Also, he's got this podcast that's getting people angry over Andrew Painter. What's up there, Pat Egan?
Hello. My kid's Olympic day was yesterday.
Really?
He won.
Did you go?
Won.
Really?
No, because the school, they made a post that made it seem like they didn't want me to go. It's his first one. So
I don't blame him.
Yeah. And I'm allowed within 500 feet of a school. Like, that's not the issue.
Oh, okay.
But, I didn't go. And then he was like, why didn't you show up?
I'm sorry to hear that. Maybe next year you can lobby the school to let you go.
Yeah. Hopefully.
You can get probation dropped and everything else, and you'll be officially allowed to do
that. I'll ask the judge.
All right. So listen, Tyler, can we pop up the tweet that Pat put up? So Pat puts up this tweet, and this has kind of been your thing. There it is. And then you talked about it in your YouTube show. Incredible how Spencer Strider returned from Tommy John surgery after a year. Andrew Painter had it 22 months ago, and the Phillies have him on a 70-pitch count. 70-pitch count. Stop coddling the damn kid. Take the bubble wrap off and the training wheels off. And then a horse wrote about it on one of the Philly sites, The Good Fight. A horse, the Smarty Jones, wrote a story ripping you for it, calling you a hot take artist, former radio hot take artist Pat Egan. So
that's me.
So, yeah, that's been your MO for your entire career is hot takes.
Totally.
All right, so explain yourself. Why are you so angry with the way the Phillies are handling Andrew Painter?
Because if Andrew Painter was not Andrew Painter, if Andrew Painter was Max Smith, a former 5th-round pick drafted out of UCF who had Tommy John surgery, he'd be pitching right now. He wouldn't be on a 70-pitch count. He would be pitching. But because it's Andrew Painter, it's the golden boy, we got to coddle him and we got to sit there and act like, oh, my God, we have to ease him into it. It was 22 months ago. Like, you let him pitch the entire Arizona Fall League. Then he comes into spring training and you don't let him pitch? He doesn't pitch at all. So it's okay for him to pitch in October and November, Smarty Jones. But fast forward to March, no, he can't pitch then. And then he starts the season, it's 25 pitches and 30. And what are we doing? Like, you're overdoing it. You're wrapping him in, but he's the kid from Little Giants wrapped up in foam. Like, he's fine. And there was a story from Jason Worth talking about Steven Strasburg. Remember when the Nats shut down Steven Strasburg when they could have made the playoffs?
Yeah.
And they were like, what?
He's at his pitch.
Jason Worth was like, he was fine. He's our best pitcher. He's throwing every day, but the organization's terrified of pitching him. That's what the Phillies are doing with this kid. You cannot convince me that if Andrew Painter was a 10th round draft pick, he wouldn't be pitching fine right now. Like, they wouldn't just be go ahead, go. But because it's Andrew Painter, it's no, 75, 80, 85. Like, it's annoying to me. It's beyond annoying.
So here's what I'll say. And if this was Larry Larson, that was a 17th round pick and was in the same situation, I don't know if they'd be handling him exactly the same, but guess where he wouldn't be pitching right now? In the major leagues. This is a numbers problem. So, like, I honestly believe that if the Phillies didn't have Chris Sanchez, if they had an obvious need for a starting pitcher, they wouldn't be handling it the same way because they don't have the luxury to handle it the same way. So going by what you want to do, Pat Egan, what are you doing then? Andrew Painter, you want to bring him up right now. What's your plan?
No, I don't want to bring him up. It's more of the the fact that they have him in the minors on a pitch. It's strictly the pitch count thing. The pitch count thing bugs me.
Why?
Because there's no need for it. He's healthy. He's been healthy.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. So you just think the Phillies are winging it and are flying by the seat of their pants, and they're like, oh, well, like, let's just put them on a pitch count for the hell of it. You think there's actual science with doctors that is behind this?
I think that they're treating him like a Fabergé egg. I think they are terrified. Look, the Nationals did it with Steven Strasburg. Like, we've seen this before. We've seen organizations treat top prospects and top pitching prospects, and they do it as if they are handling fire. And that's what I think the Phillies are doing with this kid. Where, like, it was 23 months ago at this point.
Right. Like, but explain. But this is obviously being dictated by sports science. I don't know how you could argue that. You could disagree and say that they're coddling him too much. But this isn't some plan that John Middleton says this is how we're going to handle it. Yes, there's some kind of analytic and science that says based on his age, how many pitches he's thrown, the type of surgery, and how and the actual injury. Because every time it's different. Spencer Strider's is different than Andrew Painter. This is how we're going to handle him because we don't need him to pitch right now.
Now you're making me sound like my uncle who lives in a trailer and posts conspiracy theories on Facebook.com. Like, because I don't believe I don't believe that there's like a science here. I just think that they're so terrified of re-injuring this kid that they've put him on a pitch count when there's no need for the pitch count. It makes no sense to me that he is fine to pitch in the Arizona Fall League and you don't pitch him in March and then he comes back a month later and he's on a 35 pitch count. Like, that doesn't make a lick of sense to me. It will never make sense to me. I wouldn't be making this argument if it was like 16 months, but Tommy John has always been a year. It's always been a year. And it was a year when the Arizona Fall League came up, it was a year. And all of a sudden now it's 2 years. Like, the kid already lost 2 years of his career because you kicked the can down the road on his rehab where it was like, all right, we'll try again. We'll try pitching off flat ground, and you push the surgery back. And now it's 75 pitch count. It's enough.
Right.
Let the kid go.
Let him throw 120 pitches in the minors because it'll make you
I
feel
didn't say
better.
120 pitches.
So how many? So what are we talking about? 10 pitches? 10 more pitches?
Don't have him on a pitch count. It's that simple. If he's fine going into the 5th inning, let him pitch. Let the man pitch.
Okay. Like I'm fine with that. The fact that you're making as big of an issue as you are about 10 pitches, like, come on, man. And if you think that there's not sports science behind this, you know how many full-time analytics people the Phillies have? I don't. I just tried to Google it. It's a lot. I'm not saying that it's right, but there's a plan for this dude. They're not just winging it.
There's a plan for him because he's Andrew Painter. That's my point. And like you could point to like the analytics guys. I mean, the analytics guys is what got us like exit velo and launch angle. And, you know, Rhys Hoskins having the worst year of his career when Gabe Kapler wasn't here because exit. Like, I'm not so old school where it's like I don't believe in it necessarily. I just think this is a scenario with him because he's Andrew Painter that he starts the season on a 35 pitch count as if he just had it.
You and Fit Dad CEO are easily the two most annoying Andrew Painter truthers out there. Fit Dad CEO is one of our regulars, and he's like, yo, all season long, take the gloves off. You're treating him like a coddled little kid. He's just annoying as you with it.
Get my baseball back. So I want regular baseball back. So,
and Randy brings up the best point in the chat. They're ramping him up so they can put him out there. Come July, I just don't know where he's going. Where's he going? With the current team, where's he going when you do bring him up?
That's the thing. I don't think this is a situation of we have him on a 35, 45, 55 pitch count because we want to save him for September and October. I fully believe that when late September hits, he would have hit their imaginary innings limit. And he'll be shut down anyway.
So let's get past that. What happened? Like what happens? What do you do if they want to bring him up in July? What do you do? They said they're not going to use him out of the bullpen. What do? You got too many starting pitchers.
Yeah, they don't bring him up in July. They don't. Like, as you said, they have too many starting pitchers. Like, there's no room. You re-signed Aaron Nola. You signed Taijuan Walker to a 4-year contract. There's no room. Like, they have too many AAA. Like, you did this to yourself. How did you not see this coming? So you don't bring him up. If you're not going to pitch him out of the bullpen, where are you going to put him at? Left field? Like, there's nowhere to put him.
I don't know if he was a good hitter.
6-man rotation?
Well, you could, but still, you already have a 6-man rotation, and that's without Taijuan Walker.
Point.
I actually think Taijuan Walker gets moved at the trade deadline, not for anything other than, hey, get his salary off our books next year. We'll pay half, you pay half, and it's probably going to be a good way to get him out of there.
I don't know. I mean, I think you'd have to package him with. I mean, you'd have to package him the prospect, obviously, but
no, you'd have to pay half his salary for next year.
Yeah,
like you'd have to include money.
Yeah, you'd have to include money, and I think you'd have to include a prospect for a team to take him.
I don't think so. I think that a team that's desperate, even for a starter, to get them to the playoffs would. Anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on that. Okay. Ranger Suarez, you think he gets traded? We talked about the abundance of starting pitching. You could potentially. The problem is it's tough to trade with a team that needs a starter that is in playoff contention because he's a free agent after the year, so they're not trading for something in the future. And what, they're going to trade their closer if they're on a playoff run to get a starting pitcher? I mean, maybe, but you'd really, really have to find a team that matches what you're looking for as well out there.
Yeah, that's the tough part. You'd have to find, I mean, for me, it'd be like you'd have to find a team that would be willing to trade their starting left fielder. And I don't see a team doing that who's in playoff contention. So because of that, I don't think they do end up trading him. I mean, I think that they've got a really, really good rotation. They're one of the few teams in baseball that I think would have like a 4-man rotation going into the playoffs. And we all know now it's like a 3-man rotation, but by that point in the season, a lot of guys are worn down. So I don't think they do trade him. I think that they would like to because of what you said. They're not going to re-sign him. We've all accepted that, but to find a willing trade partner.
How about for a prospect? How about for a starting pitching desperate team that's willing to trade their top prospect for him? We've seen it happen.
No, we have. He's got to be pretty close to major league ready. Like,
okay,
it's got to be a situation where the kid is major league ready and he's blocked. I mean, similar to the Andrew Painter situation of like there's no room for him, but that will work itself out with Painter. But like, if you've got a stud left fielder and you've got this stud prospect coming up and he's in AAA and he's killing it and you don't have room for him, then yeah, I'd consider that. But even then, you're going to throw a 23, 24-year-old in October and expect him to flourish.
No, this is almost for the future. I'm just throwing stuff out there because I'm trying to figure out the most likely scenario by far, I believe, is that he goes to the bullpen in the playoffs and he gives you high leverage innings. Chris Sanchez is your, I mean, maybe he pitches one, maybe he's a starter for one of the playoff games or whatever, but you use him in the multi-role once the playoff starts. It's just going to be tough to find a match. And they're going to have to use prospects to get the back end guy. Dave Dombrowski said yesterday that when asked about a closer, and he was on a podcast interview, when asked about acquiring a closer at the trade deadline, he kind of was like, well, I don't know if we need a closer, but we need a back end bullpen. So they're going to continue with this mix and match out what they were doing with Alvarado and some other guys.
Yeah, it just seems like every year with Dave Dombrowski, it's like, well, what are we looking for? Left fielder and closer. And it's like, at what point are you just going to get a guy? Like I mean, they did it with Craig Kimbrell a couple years ago.
Well, they did last year, too.
Who did they do it with last year?
That's Estevez.
Yeah, but no, I'm saying, like, when are you going to get a guy at the beginning of the season and have a closer where this isn't
where you don't have to worry about
the trade deadline?
Gotcha.
And you need a closer. And the problem with the Phillies is they don't name guys closers.
Right.
Like, this is one of my.
Well,
I like Rob Thompson a lot, but yeah, I hate that, man. Like, just name a closer.
I think they do a good job with it, but then the playoffs happen, and it's really, really tough, man. You see them struggle as a lot of teams do in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons why is I think the relief pitching is, I think, the one position where it is like 50-50. When you acquire a reliever, he could be having an amazing season with his current team, and you acquire him. It's 50-50 whether that continues with your squad. If you acquire like a first baseman, third baseman, position player, I think it's like 85%. They'll continue to flourish. But reliever, we've seen it time and time again where like guys are great and then they switch teams and they're horrible. And that's why I don't like going with this method every year of like, well, we need a reliever.
All right. Are you in a rubber room? Have you been committed, or is this where you do your broadcasting stuff?
This is where I take ayahuasca and I come up with my Andrew Painter conspiracy theories.
All right. What can you put James Bond flyers up there for 1 second, and then I'm going to bring Tyler on because his comment is Miller incoming. Aiden Miller's 20 years old and he's batting 230 something in Double-A. Stop. He's not incoming. He's not ready to play in the majors. I see people in comments on Instagram saying, well, why don't they send him up to Triple-A? Because he's struggling in Double-A. He's got to play the full year in Double-A. And it's okay. He's 20 years old in Double-A. He's playing against guys that are 25, 26 and older. It's okay. He hasn't been bad, but like you don't have to rush him. He's not this is a World Series team. Like stop. Yeah. He's not incoming anywhere.
They have a bunch of players that are playing above where they probably should be right now. Like Eduardo Tai is 18 years old, holding his own with Clearwater. Aiden Miller, as you said, is not playing poorly. The guy that actually should be called up right now is Justin Crawford. Like he's been crushing.
Yeah, but where's he? Yeah, but there's a logjam in the outfield, man.
And there's a logjam with a bunch of guys that are like expendable. Like
it's Marsh.
It's Marsh. It's Max Kepler. It's Rojas. It's like all those guys are like we know what they are at this point.
Well, next year.
I'm a big Rojas guy. You know that. I'm all Rojas up.
I am too. All right. So, and by the way, sorry, James Bond. He was saying to Oakland, Aiden Miller for Miller at Oakland. See, I'm not doing that.
No, Mason Miller has like a 6 ERA.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm like, and by the way, I don't think Miller's going to be as good as a lot of people have been talking about. But I'm not trading. He's 20 years old and he's done very well so far. Former first-round draft pick. Not trading for a closer. All right. So I'm going to end with this. Tyler, I want you to jump in on this as well. So someone had tweeted me the other day and asked me for my top 10 Phillies color commentators. Can you pop that up on the screen? So not play-by-play. So over the years, all of their color commentators. All right? So, and he says, you can see it right there. Larry Anderson, Whitey, Wheeler, Kruk. That should say Musser, not Muser, but Andy Musser was a play-by-play guy, so he wouldn't count. Stocker, Sarge, Ruben Amaro Jr., Ben Davis, Schmidt, Rollins, Kent DeColvey, Cole Hamels, etc. So I'm not going to ask you to do 10, but who would be at the top of your list? And I want to ask you because like Tyler's a little bit young for what I would say. He doesn't remember Whitey. You probably don't remember Whitey.
I don't remember Whitey.
Yeah, he died in 97. I still remember where I was when I found out that he died. I was driving in my car back from a job interview in Westchester, Pennsylvania. I was on the turnpike, and I was listening to WIP, and I guess someone had gone in his hotel room and he had passed. But Richie Ashburn for sure is number one on the list.
Did you get the job?
Did not apply. Oh, I thought you meant for the Phillies. I did get the job. Yes, it was for the phone company. It was for Bell Atlantic.
Nice job.
I was a customer service representative in the teleproducts division. And how do I stop my family from text messaging me? Because somebody's being awarded for something, and I try to quit it, and it doesn't allow it. Damn it! Stop. All right. Anyway.
This is like a Larry David skit.
I know it is, but like I quit, and it's like, woo-hoo, Carly, congratulations. And it's like, I'll text you in a second. All right.
Mom, I'm doing my show.
All right. So from your lifetimes, give me your top three. Who are your favorite? Who are the best?
I'm done with my hit.
Right.
Immediately plays Metallica.
Yep.
Yeah, the John Clayton one. All right, Pat, start with you. Oh my God. Pat, start with you.
I really like Chris Wheeler. I don't think we appreciated Chris Wheeler enough. I think people got annoyed with him because he just wasn't a former player. But I really like Chris Wheeler. Ruben Amaro's grown on me big time. And I was angry at him for years, but he's grown on me. And I gotta go with Kruk. And I wasn't a big Kruk fan for a while, but same thing. He kind of like did a 180 for me. And now I like Kruk a lot.
Tyler, what do you got?
So I have always been a huge LA fan. I think LA tells it as it is. I think LA's got a good rapport. He and Fransky have an awesome rapport together. I know sometimes LA can get into he doesn't hold back in terms of yelling at umpires and things like that. But I've always been a big LA fan. And Pat, I tend to agree with you on Ruben Amaro. I think once I finally separated the GM Ruben Amaro from the color commentator Ruben Amaro. The only thing with him that I have found is, my only thing is we know you were the GM of the Phillies, and we don't need to know that every time you do a broadcast because you're smart. You have he's smart. He knows what he's talking about. I think he does a nice job, but I've grown or Ruben Amaro has grown on me as well. But LA to me is still like the Fransky LA connection. I don't think can be beat.
Oh no, it's awesome. LA's number 2 for me. So Whitey for sure, number 1. Larry Anderson 2. I think I had Kruk at 3, but I did a top 5. Pat, Chris Wheeler made my top 5. Chris Wheeler was good. I am a Wheels guy. I loved Wheels. I think I put Wheels ahead of Sarge. I did. So I put Wheels 4, Sarge 5. I like Ruben. I do. I think Ruben's good. Oh my God, dude. I just please take me off this text chain. I am.
What's the award?
Dude, I don't know. And
like Greg's telling me.
But how do I stop this? Like everything I'm going into on my Mac doesn't let me stop it.
This is breaking news, man.
See, the problem with this is you can mute the conversation because I have a ton of text threads that are muted. But then you get done an hour show and it's like, 704 text messages because they don't stop.
Yeah, I don't care about that because I don't really read anything they say on these text chains anyway, so I don't care. But I just want to stop right now because I'm trying to do a show and it won't let me quit it. I'm gonna quit it.
I mean, they don't pick when they win awards, John.
They don't. And I'm sorry. Now I look like a jerk because I told them to take me off the text chain, and now they're gonna be talking behind my back like F him.
I can't believe you did that.
Right. Anyway, Pat Egan. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
All
we'll
right,
talk
I'm gonna get some hot takes in here, and I'll have them next week for you.
Okay, sounds good. Mr. Hot Take, Pat Egan. We'll come back with we'll get to our stat of the week and our BetParx Parlay of the day. He liked that I said take me off the text chain. He liked it. Literally liked it. So it made another beep. We'll come back. Parlay of the day and much, much more. Philly with John Marks. Don't go anywhere. All right, let's do it. Let's talk about my good friends at we got Rothman, we got Empire today. All right, so you're in the market for flooring, right? Listen, it makes such a difference in your home. And when I got new flooring upstairs, new hardwoods, it changes the whole look of your house. It changes everything. It changes the way that your paint on the wall looks. It changes the way that your furniture looks. And that's why it's so important to get the free in-home estimate. Empire today, they come to your home. They bring the showroom to your home. So you know what your new flooring, what your new carpeting is going to look like in your home, with your walls, the color of your walls, with your furniture, with your lighting. The lighting makes such a difference. It really does. And Empire today, all they do is flooring. You're not going to the big box store where you're getting somebody that was working in plumbing that's trying to help you because you have a question about this laminate that you want, right? Empire today, experts in the industry when it comes to flooring. That's all they do. And right now, it's a great time to get in. So if you get a free in-home estimate and you're picking the right flooring and the right colors in your space, they're going to take precise measurements. There's no surprises, and they're going to give you clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing. There's no surprises, right? You can schedule a free in-home estimate because some things are just better at home. $350 discount with code PHLY. You can save $350. Just go to empiretoday.com/PHLY for full details. empiretoday.com/PHLY for more details. All right, let's talk about it. Getting back to doing what you love. If you're a weekend warrior and the weather is finally not been a great weather week, but it's finally nice out. The weather is good. It's going to be in the 70s and the 80s next week. And you're like, now I can go out and play golf. Now I can play, what do old guys like me do? Pickleball, tennis, running, softball. If you like to do all those things and you're not doing them because your body is not cooperating, it's time to go to Rothman Orthopedics. I did it. My shoulder, frozen shoulder. I thought I did something to my rotator cuff, and I waited way too long. Finally went to Rothman Orthopedics. I didn't even take a cortisone shot. They just said you have a frozen shoulder. I'm gonna write a a script for physical therapy. I had physical therapy right there at Rothman in Limerick, and boom, 6 weeks later, shoulders completely fine. We've all been there. If it's not getting better or you have nagging pain, you don't have to live with it any longer. That's why you get to Rothman. Rothman Orthopedics, your mobility is their mission. We're talking about 30-plus convenient offices, urgent cares, and walk-in centers, proudly serving Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and now in Florida. The full spectrum of orthopedic care, from diagnosis to discharge, they provide their patients with every service and procedure necessary: x-rays, bracing, MRIs, physical therapy, and more. For more than 50 years, Rothman has participated in thousands of groundbreaking research. For more info, visit rothmanortho.com/landing//Philly. This is great copy. rothmanortho.com/PHLY. Hooah. We are back. Philly with John Marks. When I'm in the office, Tyler Zulli can join me. When I'm in the office, we're not running everything through my laptop. So, like, I need the laptop and I need the audio to be on. Otherwise, I can't hear what you guys are saying. And that's why you're hearing the dinging of the text messages. When we're in studio, I can just mute it and everybody texts me and I don't even hear it because it's not on. So it's a lot of fun.
I can just see your internal frustration as the perpetual ding just continues to go off.
I said, please take me off this text chain. I'm on the air. And somebody liked it to give me another ding. I mean, it's not their fault. They're not the idiots that can't figure out how to stop the messaging on the Mac. They're not the idiots. All right, let's get to our BetParx Parlay of the day. Tyler Zulli, what do we got, man?
Yeah. So I said this to you right before the show started. You're a fantasy football player, right?
I sure am.
If you were in a fantasy football league and I said to you could lose by 4 points or 40 points, which one you taking?
40 points every time.
I agree, because then at least your Sunday's not miserable where you sit and watching Sunday Night Football, watching your lead evaporate. So I took that same mindset to our bet yesterday. I took a pitcher to go over 3.5 strikeouts, and not only did he not hit 3.5 strikeouts, he had 0 because he gave up 7 earned runs in an inning and 2/3. He got obliterated last night. So it was one of those things where I looked up at like the second inning and I was just kind of laughing. So we'll flush it and move on. I'm going to go to the Tigers and the Royals today. The Royals do not strike out a lot, but they also have had a difficulty in scoring runs this year. I believe they're 27th in runs scored. Now, both Casey Mize and Seth Lugo, who are pitching today for the Tigers and Royals respectively, were recently on the IL, but I think both of these guys are primed for a no-run first inning in this game. So if we go to the Tigers and Royals game and we take the under a half a run in the first inning, which basically tells you I don't think there's going to be a run scored in the first inning, we can get that. Excuse me, I just lost it. We can get that at minus 115.
All right. There you go. Minus 115. I'm going to take the over tonight in the Phillies game. It looks like they're going to use an opener, or at least the guy DL Hall, and it's actually not. It's not mentioned in the BetParx doesn't have him as the starter, but they're going with a guy that he. I don't know if he's been a starter in the minors, but his one appearance this year was just over 2 innings. And Taijuan Walker's done great. I could see a 5-burger or a 6-burger tonight out of the Phillies and Taijuan Walker. So the over/under is 9 on the game. I'm going to take the over in the game tonight as 9.5 total runs. So I'm going to take the over of 9.5. So I believe the Phillies and the Brewers were combined to score 10 runs total. And,
I think DL Hall, by the way, was in the Corbin Burns trade. He was part of the package that went back to Milwaukee when Milwaukee sent Burns to Baltimore last year. I think Quinn Priester is going to be the guy that gets a bulk of the innings. But you're right. I think DL Hall is going to get the start tonight.
All right. Well, there you go. That's our BetParx parlay of the day. Ooh, all right. Let's end it today with our stat of the week. Do we have our intern Daulton, our stat intern? Like when we talk about the Phillies analytics department, I think there's dozens of analytics people that work for the Phillies. We don't have that type of staff. We have Daulton, the intern, who is our analytics guru. Daulton, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, John. How you doing?
What do you got for us today?
So I'm going to be talking about a trade, but it's for a different team. It's going to be for the Sixers and what they could do this offseason with their third pick and maybe even package Paul George in that pick. So it'd be for Lauri Markkanen from the Utah Jazz. So last year he averaged 19 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists. He was 42% from 2, he was 34% from 3, and he was 87% from the free throw line. Now, I was looking at some of his stats, and last year looked like it was a down year for him because the year prior he averaged 23 points. He was 48%. He was 40% from 3, 90% from the free throw line. He averaged 8 rebounds and 2 assists per game.
And you're saying the Sixers should trade for him?
It could be an option for them if they don't feel like who's going to be there at 3 and they want to get rid of that pick. I think the Utah Jazz have the 5th pick this year. I think that you could.
They do. Yeah. They have 5. So you could possibly drop back a little bit. The problem with Markkanen, he just signed a huge contract. So they're not able to take on that contract unless they were to trade a lot of salary back to the Jazz. And who the hell are they going to want on the Jazz? You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to take Paul George's contract or anything like that. So unfortunately, Daulton, I think, and they may look to trade that 3rd pick because that could possibly help them this year. We had talked to Michael Bradley yesterday, who said that he would advocate trading back a couple of spots because he thinks they can get the player that they need at 6. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the 76ers do with that 3rd pick. What do you think happens with the Phillies, Daulton, when it comes to the trade deadline? Do you think Ranger Suarez? So the playoffs start. Is Ranger Suarez in the bullpen? Is he in the starting rotation, or is he on another team?
I don't think he's going to be in the rotation come postseason. I feel like if they get the right offer for him and they feel like they can trade him to a team that needs starting pitching to get a good closer or a good back-end reliever, I feel like they would do it. You guys brought up some teams earlier, and there's a couple other teams that I'm looking at, and one of them is actually Baltimore because they have their closer Felix Bautista or even a reliever in Yennier Cano, and they need some starting pitching, so I think that they could easily take Ranger. And they're a team, they're not doing well this year, Baltimore, but they're a team that's not like the A's where they're going to stink for the next 3 years. They're a team that could be back in the postseason run next year. So they could probably sign Ranger in the offseason.
All right, there he is. Intern Daulton with his stat of the week. Thank you, Daulton. Appreciate it, buddy. Have a good weekend.
See you next.
All right. Yeah, the Orioles aren't going to be interested in Ranger Suarez because if they want to sign him in the offseason, they can just sign him. So they're not going to trade for him right now. It's going to be difficult to find a match because a team that wants Ranger Suarez isn't going to want to trade stuff that they have right now. They want to add to their roster with Ranger Suarez.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, sure, you could acquire Ranger and then say, hey, let's get an extension done. But Ranger and Scott Boras particularly are probably in no rush to get that done. They want to see what the open market provides them. And I don't blame them in that sense.
Yep. Agreed. Switch on over to allphly.com if you're watching on TV. We're in overtime. Tyler, a live Philly show today, correct?
Yes. Yep. 1:00 we'll be on. We were on the air last night for the in-game. Last night was not a ton of fun in terms of the game.
Oh,
but
you did an in-game last night? Oh, yeah. Dude, you have the worst luck.
So we've done 2 in-games this year, and it was I think they got shut out by the Mets and then lost 9-3 last night.
I remember the first one. I didn't remember the details. I remember being like, oh, that's a bad game to be on. Yeah, and then last night, why does this feel like it happens with Sale and Wheeler whenever they square off? That's never a good game.
Yeah, so the last time these two guys pitched they didn't pitch against each other, but so Wheeler pitched on April 18th, Sale pitched on April 19th. They both gave up 5 earned runs, and neither of them got out of the 6th. And then Wheeler last night was not particularly strong. I think he gave up 4 walks, which was strange for him.
Yes, he did.
Sale was good yesterday, but Wheeler was not particularly great. It's weird, right? We speak up these, oh man, Sale, Wheeler, and sometimes they feel like they fall a little flat.
Yep. No, you're right. Yeah, Wheeler has from time to time he'll have he didn't have he couldn't locate last night, and like it
happens.
It happens, man. He's so good. Now his ERA is closer to 3, and then he'll put in 3 or 4 great starts. Right, I know, but like that's bad. Zach Wheeler is. Oh, he gave up a bunch of runs. His ERA is almost 3.
It's funny, John, because I said this during the pregame show about Christopher Sanchez after Game 1. It was like Christopher Sanchez didn't have his best stuff yesterday, and he went 5 2/3 and gave up 2 earned runs and gave the Phillies every chance to win the game. And it's like, is that really how good this rotation is? Yes. Where we say 5 2/3 and 2 earned runs is like, oh, that was an okay start, but he could have been better. Like, that's how good this rotation is.
I was thinking about it, and I meant to go check his game logs. It does seem like that third time around the order that they, like a lot of pitchers, they start getting to him. So he runs into some trouble in the 6th inning. Because you're right. Like, at this point, he's typically not a guy, I don't think that's going 7 and 8 most times. You're hoping to get him through 6. And 6 very efficient innings. And you're right. Like, if that's our biggest worry is Chris Sanchez. Yeah, his last 3 starts, 6 innings, 3 runs, 4 2/3, 3 runs, 5 2/3, 2 runs. Yeah, like that's I guess, is he your 3rd starter or your 4th starter right now? Whatever. He's right there.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to look really quickly to the times through the lineup type of thing. And as you said, it's probably right along par with most teams, right? Like with most starters, it's like, yeah, the first time through is your best numbers. And actually with Sanchez, I think the second time through is actually his best numbers. Like if you go inning by inning, the best time to get to Christopher Sanchez is actually in the first inning of his starts. He has a 4.09 ERA, but after that, 2nd inning 2.4, 3rd inning 1.8, 4th inning 1.8, 5th inning 2.8. So like innings 2 through 5 are really where Sanchez thrives, and then it goes up to a 9 in the 6th inning, and that's so it's when he tries to get settled, and then and that's that 3rd time through the lineup, which is pretty much spot on with most pitchers across baseball.
11 starts, he's went 7 innings once. He's went 6 1/3 once. Everything else is 6 innings or less.
Yeah, here you go. So first time facing Sanchez, opponents are hitting 220, 221. Second time facing him, opponents are hitting 220. Third time facing him, opponents are hitting 310.
Yep.
It's and again, that happens with almost every pitcher across Major League Baseball. You see a guy for a 3rd time, especially a guy who, he's now a 3-pitch pitcher, whereas he was a 2-pitch pitcher before. But a guy who only throws, 3 pitches or so, you can kind of start to lock in a little bit more now that you're seeing him for a 3rd time. Happens.
All right, what time's the live show? 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock today, yep.
All right, everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy. We'll be back on Monday morning. Shout out to everybody watching. Remember, if you can't catch the YouTube version of the show, there are people listening right this very second on the audio-only podcast. The audio-only podcast. Rate, review, wherever you find your podcast, Philly with John Marks. We appreciate it. And we'll talk to everybody on Monday. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you. See you.
We all silly like the mayor.